How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Facebook's quote unquote oversight board for now upholding the decision to ban Donald Trump from their platform. Now, they're saying he's kind of like in purgatory right now, but he shouldn't be. I got to back up a little bit and explain to you what's happening. We all know that the whole January 6th thing and a few other things led to Facebook banning Donald Trump. But when they banned him, it was for an indeterminate amount of time, meaning we're not really sure when we're going to bring him back. It might be a short period of time, long period of time, forever. We don't really know. But he's banned indefinitely. Now, the so-called oversight board said, hey, you guys just can't ban him indefinitely. You have to say, all right, it's going to be a set amount of time or it's going to be permanent. But for now, they've upheld the kind of purgatory state that Trump is in. And they have 6 months to come back and rule on it definitively, whether it's going to be permanent or just for a period of time. Now, the main thing they keep holding on to is that Trump keeps talking about the election and how it was stolen, all this, that, and the third. Now, Stacey Abrams said the exact same thing about the election being stolen back in, 2018, when she lost against Brian Kemp. Oh, it was stolen from me, and this was wrong with the vote, that was wrong with the vote, all this, that, and the third. And for some reason, she's still allowed on the platform and everywhere else because Trump is not just banned from Facebook, also Twitter, YouTube, a lot of places. But Facebook, I think, will probably uphold the decision even in 6 months. But not for Stacey Abrams. She's totally fine. No suspensions, no nothing. It's all good. Everything's all right. All right. Then they say, not just because of the allegations about the election, how it was stolen, and we don't agree with it, also because what you said led to the January 6th riots. Now, you literally have Antifa pages on Facebook right now that have not been removed. And if they have been removed, it's been recently only because we've spoken out against it and said, hey, there's hypocrisy here. How are you going to say that Trump did X, Y, and Z because of the January 6th thing? Meanwhile, you have Antifa engaging in countless riots all over the nation for years. They had 100 days out there in Portland, Oregon that they were occupying that. Seattle, Washington, all over the place. They've been doing such things, but yet they have active Facebook pages where they talk about it. They quote unquote documented the guy that was in the Capitol, the black guy, I forget his name. He's getting paid by the alphabet letter news organizations for his footage. He's not seeing as somehow, a threat to society or something like that. The news media is paying him. So there's a lot of hypocrisy here, a lot of weird things going on. Now, to get back to this so-called oversight board, what they call the Facebook Supreme Court, this is a body that's supposed to be independent, but it's not really. They're going to oversee Facebook, but everybody on the board is being paid by Facebook. So how does it make any sense? How am I going to have an oversight board of my business that I pay for? Obviously, they're going to be biased towards what I say and what I do. It's like, all right, you know what? They keep saying that we're not really fair when it comes to how we rule on certain people, how we treat certain people. We're banning conservatives, banning everybody that does not have our worldview. All right, let's have an outside body make decisions about what we're doing. That'll keep everything above board and everything cool. But guess what? We're going to pay all the salaries. That's so dumb. And then there's a list of people that are on the board, and I'll place that in the description box below. There's a list of the board members, and everybody, for the most part, is an anti-Trumper, a leftist, a far leftist. There's not any conservatives on the board. Matter of fact, I'll take that back. I think there's one guy from the Cato Institute who may kind of identify as somewhat conservative, but he's also a never Trumper. Okay, he's been on podcasts and stuff like that talking about how Trump is a threat to democracy and he's not decent, all this and that and the third. It's like having Mitt Romney or somebody like that on the board talking about, oh, we have a conservative voice. Do you really? When it comes to Trump, I mean, everybody on the board is anti-Trump for the most part, is a liberal for the most part, and they're being paid by Facebook. And Facebook itself is anti-Trump and mostly liberal. Zuckerberg, all these guys are pretty much the same way. So where is any kind of balance in that? Now, some of you may say, hey, ABL, why does it matter? Facebook, that's for boomers and, people's grandmamas and whatnot, your Meemaw and everybody like that, looking at family pictures. Well, the reality, the actual truth is that 98% of social media happens on Facebook, 98%. So you're talking about a really big chunk of it when it comes to elections and things like that. If you don't have Facebook, that's going to be a serious problem. Now, Trump did not say he was going to run last night specifically on the Candace Owens show. And shout out to her. Round of applause for getting that interview. Bravo to you, Candace. But he did not say specifically he was going to run, but he did say, oh, well, I can't really say it right now because of campaign finance. And he kind of alluded to running again in 2024. So if they uphold this ban, block, whatever you want to call it, quote unquote, indefinite suspension, then that could be considered election interference because you have one of the biggest platforms on the internet's blocking a presidential candidate. Same thing with other platforms, Twitter and stuff like that. It'll be the same thing. Meanwhile, some of these same platforms will say that Trump and other people in the GOP are trying to restrict their vote. They're trying to, quote unquote, block black folks from voting. Not sure how, but different story. I'll talk about that in a different video, so I digress. They're trying to block black folks from voting. They're trying to have foreign nations come in and interfere. They want to have Russia. They want to talk about Russia interference, bot interference, all this, that, and the third. But they're actively blocking a person out in the open. For what? Quote unquote, inciting a riot. You got all these BLM riots happening all over the place. People like Kamala Harris retweeting the link for bail money for these people. So that the standards are not really held up very well. It's unfair. And the so-called Oversight Board, the Facebook Supreme Court, that's totally useless because they're being paid by Facebook and they're probably appointed by Facebook. How is it independent if you're getting paid by them? It makes no sense at all. None whatsoever. But as I close, I want to say this. I think in 6 months, which is their deadline to make a decision definitively one way or the other, I think they're going to go ahead and ban them permanently because they've gotten away with it so far. Will prevent it from actually going forward permanently in 6 months. I mean, you have all Democrats in government right now. I think the only thing that could prevent Facebook from doing this is if you have an outside ruling, like from the actual government itself, some kind of antitrust thing. But that could have some steam. I'm saying that there's a lot of Democrat control right now in the government, but that may have some steam. I've even seen Nancy Pelosi talking about how she does not like how Facebook operates and it's too monopolistic. Now, she probably likes the whole part about banning Trump, of course, but at the same time, you can't give them that much power and expect to have any kind of control over them anytime soon. If you say it's all right for them to ban former president and potential future presidential candidates, and if he's trying to run and he can't use Facebook.com to promote himself, that's going to be a big issue. And that same precedent can be used against other people. Oh, I don't like what this person says. I don't like what they say. They're not running their campaign properly, so we're going to go ahead and ban them as well. This is a big problem. So I think the only thing that could stop this whole thing from happening the way it's happening is if the government steps in and does some antitrust and breaks them up. That'd be the only way I can see them really getting at Facebook. But as far as us, what can we do? There's alternatives to Facebook. Okay, you have other social media platforms that are coming up. Just stop putting so much energy into Facebook. But that's kind of, like I said, 98% of social media activity happens on Facebook.com. It's going to be very difficult to kind of break that addiction, but I think it can be done for sure. And I think one of the main things that could be done is if the government comes in, breaks it up. Without that right there, it's going to be really, really difficult to climb that mountain and get over the top and break the stranglehold they have on social media as it stands today. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about Facebook upholding the decision, at least temporarily, to ban Donald Trump from the platform? Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. Think it's a good thing, bad thing? You guys pretty much know where I stand. I think it's a terrible thing. I think Facebook has way too much power. They should not be allowed to just do whatever they want to do. I'm all for private business. I get it 100%. But when you completely dominate one corner of the market, it's like, well, what can anybody else do? You got all the money, all the resources, all the what are you really going to do? Maybe there should be a government alternative to a Facebook that can be used for mass communication, because the way it is right now, when you have mass communication controlled by one company, two companies, it's hard for anybody else to break in and do anything else. All right. It's really hard. So we'll see what happens in the future. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.